All right, today we're going to put on our consultant hats. We're being handed a company, KBO Appliances, that's kind of in a crisis. Our job? To tear apart the problem, find the real opportunity, and build a rock-solid, data-driven strategy from scratch. Let's dive in. And it all kicks off with this one single brutal word. You know, when industry experts called KBO's new product line pedestrian, they weren't just being harsh. They were pointing to a much deeper problem. The market thinks KBO has run out of ideas.
And, well, the market reacted exactly how you'd expect. A 12% stock drop? That's not just a blip on a screen. That's a massive vote of no confidence from investors. This is the fire we've been hired to put out. The pressure is definitely on.
But the CEO, she's not just sitting around trying to fix the past. She thinks she sees a new way forward. She wants to pivot, to tap into a totally new market, college students with a new product. But an idea is just an idea. She needs to know if it's a good idea.
And that's our cue. The phone rings. It's the CEO. And she's not asking for your gut feeling or a wild guess. She wants a rigorous, logical breakdown. And here's the key. A great consultant's first move isn't to find the answer. It's to build a framework, a map that's going to lead everyone to the right answer.
So where do we even begin? Before we touch a single spreadsheet or number, our first job is to bring some order to this chaos. We need a solid structure, a logical map that's going to guide our entire investigation. And the golden rule for building that map is something called the mice principle. I know, it sounds super jargony, right? But honestly, it's a beautifully simple idea. Think of it like a pizza. Mutually exclusive just means each slice has its own topping. You don't have pepperoni on the mushroom slice. Collectively exhaustive means that when you put all the slices together, you have the whole pizza. Nothing's missing. No gaps, no overlaps. It's just a perfect way to break down any big, messy problem.
And this is what it looks like in practice. A consultant's first move is often just a quick sketch on a whiteboard. So for our KBO case, we're going to create 3 big, messy buckets to analyze. First, the company itself. What are KBO's strengths and weaknesses? Second, the market. How big is it? Who's the competition? And third, the strategy. Can we actually make money, and how do we win? Company, market, strategy. See? No gaps, no overlaps. Okay, with our roadmap in place, let's tackle that first bucket, the market. The CEO's biggest, most immediate question is pretty simple. Is this opportunity even worth our time? Are we talking about a little niche market, or could this be a real game changer? To figure this out, we are not going to pull a number out of thin air. We're going to use a classic consulting tool called a top-down estimation. We'll start with a huge number, the entire US population, and then use some logical assumptions to carve it down to our very specific customer. Here's how we get there. It's pretty cool. Step 1. We start with all 320 million people in the US. Now let's narrow that down. Step 2. For simplicity, let's assume an 80-year lifespan, which means there are about 4 million people in every age group. We want the 18 to 22-year-olds. That's 5 age groups, so 5 times 4 million gets us to 20 million people. But we're not done. Step 3. We only want full-time students living in dorms, and based on the research, that filters our 20 million all the way down to 8 million. See? Every step is just a logical cut. And boom, there it is, 8 million students. That's our total addressable market. And that's not just some random number, it's the anchor for our entire business case. It tells us just how big the playing field really is. Okay, so we found a pretty big market. That's great, but a market is useless if you can't actually make money in it, right? So the next piece of this puzzle has to be all about the money. Can we make this work financially? Now, when it comes to pricing, there are 2 ways to think about it. The first one is called cost-based pricing. That's where you figure out your costs and then just add a markup. The source material calls this a deadly business sin. Why? Because your customers do not care what your costs are. The second and much smarter way is price-based costing. You start with the customer. What are they actually willing to pay? Then you work backwards from there and challenge your team to make the product profitably at that price. So setting that perfect price. Well, it's a balancing act. You're juggling 3 things. First, what's our company's main goal? Are we trying to be like Apple and go for huge profits, or are we fighting for market share like Samsung? Second, what's the competition doing? We're not in a vacuum. And third, and maybe most important, what will a student on a tight budget actually pay for this thing? At the end of the day, it all comes down to this simple but powerful little table. You take the price you set, you subtract the cost to make 1 unit. That gives you your gross margin. Then you multiply that by how many units you think you can actually sell to those 8 million students, and that gives you your potential total profit. Every single piece of our analysis has to help us fill in these blanks.
All right, now we bring it all home. The real magic of a consultant isn't just in doing the analysis. It's about taking all that complex, messy data and weaving it into a simple, clear, and totally persuasive story. It's time to build that final recommendation.
This is it, the moment of truth. We have structured the problem. We've sized the market. We've looked at the profitability. We have all the puzzle pieces. Now, we have to put them together and give the CEO a clear verdict. Is this a go or a no-go? And here it is, the final slide. This is what you'd walk the CEO through. You start big. The market is a solid 8 million students with steady demand. The product itself makes perfect sense for them. The key to the whole thing is the price. We have to use that price-based costing to hit a student's budget. Profitability? Yes, it's possible, but it completely depends on hitting our cost targets and sales numbers. And from a brand perspective, this is a golden chance to build loyalty with a whole new generation. The biggest risk? Distribution. We'll need new channels, like campus bookstores. So, after weighing everything, the recommendation is a clear, confident go. But wait, we're not quite done. A good consultant gives the recommendation. A great consultant looks around the next corner. After you present the go, you leave the CEO with one last critical question to chew on. The analysis says go, but what's the one execution risk that could still sink this whole project? Is it a competitor, a supply chain issue? That final thought ensures the client isn't just celebrating a decision, but is already getting ready for the fight ahead. Now that is thinking like a consultant.